Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I'm going to do your January the 28th just for today in a meditation. How are you doing this morning? It's about 3:52 a.m. I'm excited to spend this time with you. The title of the meditation is An Everyday Addict. We can never fully recover, no matter how long we stay clean. Basic text, page 84. After getting a little time in the program, some of us begin to think we have been cured. We've learned everything NA has to teach us. We've grown bored with the meetings, and our sponsor keeps droning the same old refrain. The steps, the steps, the steps. We decided it's time to get on with our lives, cut way back on meetings, and try to make up for the years we have lost to active addiction. We do this, however, at the peril of our recovery. Those of us who have relapsed after such an episode often try to go to as many meetings as we can. Some of us go to a meeting every day for several years. It may take that long for us to understand that we will always be addicts. We may feel well some days and sick on other days, but we are addicts every day. At any time, we are subject to delusion, denial, rationalization, justification, insanity, all the hallmarks of the typical addict's way of thinking. If we want to continue living and enjoying life without the use of drugs, we must practice an active program of recovery each day. Just for today, I am an addict every day, but today I have the choice to be a recovering addict. I will make that choice by practicing my program. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the wee version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. What a beautiful meditation, talking about being an addict every day and how we don't fully recover no matter how long we stay clean, and how we do sometimes reach that plateau where we're not as actively involved in our daily recovery program, and we feel safe within that. And what begins to happen is that our check system, right, for the disease thinking that we have changes. We don't have as many check imbalances. Because we're not being aware of our disease of addiction on a daily basis, because we come to equate our disease of addiction with the actual picking up of the drug and not the behavior. Thus, the saying, we can back ourselves up into a corner that we cannot get out of clean, and sometimes not alive. So many of us have, and I have not, but many of us have experienced relapse. And a lot of times when we're talking about returning back to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous as quickly as we can, right? When we can, as quickly as we can. Because see, some of us do go beyond recall. So when we have the awareness that we can get to a meeting, even if we're not clean, getting to that first meeting again, we try to get there. And what happens is those individuals that have the lived experience of relapse, they tend to understand and to be aware that I need this meeting on a day-to-day basis. And they make several meetings. They do another 90 and 90, and It's unfortunate that when we say 90 and 90, we equate that with a problem in someone's recovery. It should be something that we enjoy, almost as though, some practices or faiths, they have like a period of fasting, right? Well, I think for us individuals in recovery, 90 and 90 can be very refreshing, almost like fasting. It can be very refreshing to reveal to myself who I am, what I'm dealing with, my thinking, my intolerances. It can show me a lot, and I can work on that and tweak that and make that more into God's will rather than self-centeredness, right? And so those people that relapse, my point is they have a tendency to say, I need to make more meetings. I need to do another 90 and 90. And the point is that we can do this anytime in our program. We don't have to wait for a relapse to pick up our program and become more active. We can do it now. We can do it now. I'm sitting here in awe at the hour of the morning and my passion for recovery. With 30 plus years clean, having just lost a biological father that I love dearly, and my mind is focused on how to recover another day. The thought of using hasn't entered my mind other than to have a conversation of how it hasn't entered my mind. And for me, I feel very fortunate. There is this ideal that we talk about. We're addicts every day. Some days we feel well, and other days we feel sick. But in order for us to take our spiritual temperature, we need to have a spiritual thermometer. A lot of times our conscience is that spiritual thermometer. And a lot of times we don't allow our conscience to be refined and to be transformed into these spiritual principles that we have exposure to through the steps, through meetings, through fellowshipping with other people in recovery. A lot of times we refuse to allow our conscience to be affected by that. And as a result, the grid or the checking point for us is a lot different than it is for a lot of other people in recovery that find that they don't have as many mental and emotional and spiritual relapses, and they don't have the physical relapse of actually picking up. So if we want to be in a position where we know where we are emotionally and mentally and spiritually and physically, right? We need to make sure that our compass or our spiritual thermometer is adjusted. It's reading accurately. If it's not reading accurately, our conscience isn't reading accurately, then obviously we will find ourselves doing and saying things that we regret later. Our 10th step, probably even at that point, you're not even doing a 10th step, but our 10th step potential for one would be so long every day. We have so many prompt amends that we need to make every day. That's the harder way to go. I'd rather develop my conscience, my spiritual thermometer in an atmosphere of recovery where everyone understands we don't do it perfectly. You can come into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and share and cut your pain in half by putting it on the table and allowing others to absorb that for you, so that you can actually go back out into society and function without that angst of feeling like I need to get back at whatever, or I need to protect myself, without having to worry about these character defects that we have, wanting to pop themselves up and thereby causing us to fall short, our shortcomings again in step 7. That's why recovery is important to me. It allows me to keep my side of the street a lot more clean than if I didn't have it. So, yeah, back to the point, we do not fully recover, but we have a whole chapter that says we do recover. So, which is it? Do we not fully recover or do we fully recover? I believe we do recover. But I want to make this point very clear. When an individual has a disease and they've been diagnosed with a disease, at any point in time, it can come out of remission. And a lot of times when we're talking about diseases such as cancer, the process of it coming out of remission, the individual has absolutely nothing to do with it. They can be cancer free for years. Did you recover from your bout with cancer? Absolutely. I did chemotherapy. I did such and such, and I have a clean bill of health been given to me by my doctor, and I am cancer free and have been for the last 8 years. And wake up the next week and find out the cancer is back. Yeah, there's a silence there because can you imagine beating cancer only for it to come back years later? And it does for several people because their body is already used to having the cancer. They're prone to the illness, they're prone to that disease. And so what happens is we take that and we bring that into the disease of addiction, and we have to say, yes, I can have chemotherapy. I can get a shot of recovery at a real life meeting or a Zoom platform in a meeting. I can get a shot of recovery to kill off this disease of addiction. I can call my sponsor. I can work the steps. I can do all of those things. Have you recovered from the disease of addiction? Oh, yes, it's in remission. I haven't had the symptoms in years. I haven't acted out. I haven't stolen. I haven't gone to prison. I haven't tried to take a drink of some 0% alcohol beer, ginger beer, or something. I haven't done any of those things. I haven't flipped a script, right? The doctor didn't prescribe me 2 pills 4 times a day, and I took 4 2 times a day. I haven't flipped the script. Yes. Then all of a sudden wake up and find out you are right back fighting with the disease of addiction, the symptoms of the disease of addiction in our thinking, our behaviors. What was it that you could have done different? What part did you play? In a lot of instances, we don't play a part. A lot of times life just happens. I didn't play a part with my father passing away. But don't you think for a second that I haven't had some stinking thinking about our relationship? Absolutely. I could sit in it and allow the disease of addiction mentally to grow and gain ground on me, but I refuse. I refuse. That's why when I'm faced with dealing with siblings, I'm faced with dealing with my mother and her. And I want to say face because I love her to death, right? But when she wants to have a conversation about the past and explain things to me about him, I assume the humble position because I need to, because I already have some stinking thinking about the relationship. So I can't afford anything else to come in and validate or affirm or make me believe that my thinking is absolutely 100% justifiable. I can't. I have to assume the humble position. Does it quake me? Does it hurt me sometimes? Absolutely. Because I think to myself, here we go again. You never had a seat at the table. You're not going to have a seat at the table. And everybody that had a seat at the table want to now start using you to explain why they had a seat at the table and you didn't, and what their seat at the table was like because of who you are in his relationship with you. Yeah, he was always excited to see me. He came bearing gifts every time he came to see me. And anytime I traveled with him to be with them, they received lots of love and laughter and gifts as well. But there's a resentment as a result of that relationship. And I sense it and I know it. But I can't afford to sit in that. If I sat in that, I would be getting high tomorrow. I cannot. I refuse. I don't have the energy. And I definitely got way too much love for you guys. I got too much love for the people in my immediate network. And I have way too much love for my family that I take care of intentionally with good love every day of my life. I'm not going to let anything like that, a death of a loved one, transform me into somebody that I've worked over 30 years to not be. How about that today? So we do recover, but we never fully recover. We do recover, but we never fully recover. No matter how long I stay clean, I cannot tell you that I don't have the disease of addiction. I don't have the symptoms of the disease of addiction. It is in remission, but don't get it twisted. At any point in time, it can come rearing its ugly head. And if I do not have a check system, it may gain ground on me. And I will look up and I will be in a corner that I cannot get out of clean and sometimes not even alive. Because when you have a mental illness, and many of us don't want to talk about that mental illness of depression and anxiety, right? So many things that we have that we deal with, but we don't want to label it. Right? We don't want to say I'm dual diagnosed. We don't want to talk about that piece. And at any point in time, when I say can back you up into a corner that you can't get out of clean and sometimes alive, a lot of times people I know have made a permanent decision, of suicide for a temporary problem because they were in a pickle mentally. And it had gotten so bad that the thought of calling another person for help was far from them. I just don't have the time and energy for that today. I don't. And I hope you don't either, because your life is worth living. Whether your disease of addiction is arrested or not, never forget that you've already had the spiritual DNA, you're already prone to active addiction. You're already prone to the disease of active addiction. You're already prone to it. You're already prone to the disease of addiction. And because of that, we don't live in fear, but we make sure that we put those check systems up, those barriers up, where we have people that we interact with, that we've given permission to speak up when they see something that's not right in our recovery. Takes a lot of humility to do that. I'm going to tell you. I'm wearing a cape that has a capital H on the back of it because I'm very much aware that this is a season where I must remain humble. Listen, I've bent your ear long enough on this topic, but I really want to make sure that we understand that we are an everyday addict. And if we go in with it and we don't wrestle with the terminology, right? A lot of people are like, addict. I'm not getting ready to call myself an addict every day. I don't even think that's spiritually right to call myself. That's like saying you ugly to yourself every day. Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. It's modest and it's humble when I can say every day, I'm an addict in recovery. Or I can say I'm a recovering addict. Some people won't use the terminology, and because they won't have self-acceptance about who they really are, they will never be able to fully access the benefits of this program because they're still getting it twisted over terminology. Listen, I don't want that for you. I want the best for you. My name is MightyStream, and I have enjoyed talking to you, and I am going to have a beautiful day on purpose, and I know that you will too. I want you to at least try. Talk to you tomorrow.